we've talked about supply and demand. Now we're going to talk about two scenarios where supply and demand is a factor. And these two scenarios are price ceiling and price floor. And the first thing we're going to talk about is a price ceiling. Now, a price ceiling is when you're not allowed to sell above a certain price. Often governments will emphasize these rules. And an example is that in some countries, governments will say that suppliers can't sell rice above a certain price. And they do this because they think that rice producers are charging consumers too much, and they want consumers to be able to buy rice at a cheaper price because people need it to eat. So, people think they're doing a good thing. Okay, but let's talk about what happens. So, we have our supply and demand curve, just like we've always drawn. And here would be the equilibrium price on the y-axis, the equilibrium quantity demanded and supplied on the x-axis. So that's the equilibrium that we would have without the price ceiling. But we're going to say that you can't charge a price higher than this line. So highest price, y-axis is price, can't charge above this line. So we draw this line through here. And it's going to intersect the supply curve and the demand curve. It intersects the supply curve here, intersects the demand curve here. So, for demand, it tells us that at this price, we're going to demand this quantity. And it tells us that at this price, this quantity is going to be supplied. So, more is demanded than is supplied. So, this point to this point, this distance, because this is quantity, that's the shortage. So, this much rice is going to be demanded, but it's not there. People are going to be trying to buy rice at the grocery store, but they can't because not enough is produced. Okay, the second thing we're going to talk about is price floor. And price floor is the exact opposite of price ceiling. A price floor tells us that we're not allowed to sell below a certain price. Okay, think about it this way. Minimum wage. In the United States, we use this. The minimum wage is a price floor. It is illegal to pay someone below minimum wage. Now, we have suppliers and we have demanders or buyers. Now, workers supply labor, and people who give out jobs demand labor or give out jobs. And our price floor is minimum wage. So, just like always, we draw our supply and demand curve. This is our equilibrium quantity that would be demanded, and on the y-axis we have our equilibrium price. And we have our minimum wage line going through, extending from the y-axis over. And here's our price floor. We can't sell below this. So, this is going to intersect the supply curve and the demand curve. So, at this point on our supply curve, this is the quantity that laborers or workers want to give. This many people, or quantity, want to work. At this price, this wage, this many people want to work. This quantity 1. But at this wage per hour, the demand curve, only this many jobs are available. So, we have more people wanting to work than there are jobs. So we have a surplus of labor. If we didn't have the minimum wage, if we didn't have a price floor for labor, we have the equilibrium quantity. Everyone who wanted to work at this wage would work, and that number of jobs would be provided. There would be more jobs than there are now, but the wage would be lower. If you look at the math, the algebra I'm doing here, the surplus of workers now with the minimum wage, or shortage of jobs, is Q1 minus Q2. Look at the quantities here. So, it's the labor supplied minus labor demanded, Q1 minus Q2, because it's the quantity or number of jobs, so you can subtract number of jobs. And then we have the number of workers who cannot find jobs, who would work at equilibrium price, who would work at this price right here. And that is QE minus Q2. So, QE is the number of workers who want to work at the equilibrium price, what the price would be. Q2 is how many jobs are available after minimum wage is established. So QE minus Q2 tells us the number of workers who cannot find jobs who would want to work at equilibrium price.